Okay, but if we were sitting somewhere else and we had the time, and I said, all right, Roy, teach me how to meditate. How do I do this? Would you give me a mantra?
No.
Would you give me an object to focus on? Would you say, well, it has to be a dark room, you must be sitting?
You really are curious.
I am very curious.
Yeah, well, the mantra is a form of hypnosis, and hypnosis doesn't require any change. The kind of mantra that you get from transcendental meditation, well, first of all, let me backtrack a little bit. There are two kinds of people. One kind of person likes to stay in his trance because he's somewhat egotistical and doesn't want to face himself. So his kind of salvation is to stay in that trance and deepen it so he can experience relief of anxiety more perfectly.
All right.
And follow his dreams without having to feel guilty.
Okay.
So there's a whole class of people we don't care about.
We can't help them.
No, no way.
They're gone.
They like the hypnotic kind of dreams, being caught up with personalities and cults and things like that. But the searching person who really sees something wrong with his way of life isn't so completely lost that he can't see that he's lost. That kind of person you can talk to. That kind of person you can teach how to meditate in the right way. And there is no focusing on objects, because if you focus on an object, a mantra could be spaghetti and meatballs.
Okay, we know that's not what we're going to do. I want to know what we do.
Well, we have too many mantras already, like music and noises and sounds. What we have to do is separate from all those mantras so that we let them sweep by and we don't get caught in the whirlpool. So, a little extra, shall I show you how it's done?
Can you? Sure.
Yeah, in a few minutes. I can't do the whole
We have
thing.
about a minute and a half before the break.
Well,
how much can we do in a minute?
Not much, but
all right.
The basic technique is if you concentrate to the middle of the forehead, not hard, but gently, just locate a spot here without looking up with the eyes. Okay. And now be aware of your right hand. There's a reason for your right hand. And use that as an anchor to stay in the room, because you don't want to float into the future or the past. Now be aware through the middle of your forehead as though you're being, and funnel the attention down so you also include your hand. Now all of a sudden a dream will come up and snatch you.
That's right.
And you're into a dream, and then when you realize that you're into the dream, you also realize that you're not where you should be in the now. So you become aware of the hand as though you're looking through the middle of the forehead, and you practice pulling back to the moment.
Is the objective to try to clear the mind?
No.
It is not.
Not to suppress the thought, but to let the thought go by, but you don't go into it, without you going into it. And each time you succeed in coming back to the moment, you come back to where the truth is. People who drink or smoke are really running from the moment, into the past, into the future, through excitement of drink,
Does
drugs.
it put you in a position of having to analyze your activity?
No.
It doesn't.
You don't have to draw upon the intellect, because every time you make a decision based upon your intellectual knowledge, you deciding right from wrong is an ego trip. Somehow you miss a very precious way of realizing things as they are. Every time you decide for yourself something, you are building your ego, and it causes conflict, a fear of even making decisions. But there's another way of seeing things that's called by discerning. If you can give up that deciding right from wrong, living in the world of your imagination, and come back to the now where the truth is, then the truth will show you clearly. Aha! Over here and over there. And you don't have to make a decision. You can see. Okay.
I'm sure that our viewers have as many more questions for you as I still have. And if you do, you can call us now at 787-4444. We'll be back after this message.
We have all been hypnotized by society.
Well, life itself is a hypnosis. When I was young, I discovered that I couldn't control my thoughts and my feelings, and when I was upset, thoughts lingered and I couldn't get rid of them, and I thought to myself, well, that's funny, why can people make an impression on me and I can't erase that impression? What mysterious power do they have? What will happen to me if I can't control myself and erase those thoughts? So I set out seeking the answers, and I became interested in hypnotism, to cut a long story short. And I discovered in the course of practicing hypnotism and understanding the secrets of the mind that the reason why everybody had problems is because they're all, in a sense, hypnotized by pressures of society.
So you, in effect, you dehypnotize?
Well, yes, meditation.
Or you apply your hypnosis to counter previous hypnosis?
No, you can't counter hypnosis with another hypnosis without making them your victim. See, you're reprogramming when you're deprogramming.
Well, let me ask.
Well, what you really must do, you must bring the person to his own inner understanding of life, so that his own understanding as he discovers it, as he sees it for himself, without the impress of culture, you see, and training and background and conditioning. As he sees it for himself clearly, not involved with thought or feeling or culture, you must give him back to this clear way of seeing things, so that the knowledge which is present in one's own center, not caught up in thought or feeling, comes to bear on his own brain, on his own mind.
So you're erasing the blackboard of the mind and allowing only those basic truths which are already there to
Yes,
to
well, that's the reason. The truths which are already there is called the conscience. And when we react like animals to pressure, and there are plenty of pressures in the world, plenty of manipulators, mind manipulators in religion and in education, who like power and like taking us away from our center and educating us and making us little robots and answering to them and them healing us and looking to them for answers and creating bigger problems for us to look to them. You see, they like that. And we are victim of this. And the conflict comes between man's two conditions. There are two ways a human being can live. He can live conditioned by pressures like an animal, but then he becomes an animal and he has conflict in himself for being one, because he isn't human. And this is the reason why we have rebellion, why we have crime, why we have alcoholism and drug addiction, because people don't know how to face pressure without becoming the extension of those pressures. The hideousness behind those pressures get inside us, and they mold the man.
Yeah, well,
Look, listen.
I mean, it seems like there's no point to where we can truly be whatever it is we're supposed to be, it seems like.
Well, if we were loved when we were children, if our parents knew what love was, if the schools knew what love was, if the government knew love, if we were surrounded by love, we're not. We're surrounded by corruption from the day we're born. I'm sorry to say, even our own parents do not know how to love us, because they had parents who didn't know how to love them, and they had great-great-great-grandparents who didn't know how to love them, and all the way back to when love was lost.
From the beginning.
From the very beginning, when man disobeyed his conscience and listened to his wife, his woman, because you have listened to your woman, or the woman I've given you, or your wife, or whatever she was, because you have done this thing, the sentence of death was pronounced on the human race. We became separated from God's love, and we all began to wither away. We've become animals. We become subject to the suggestions. See, there are suggestions that are within us, like Adam originally had the suggestions of his Creator. He was programmed to listen, to obey an intuitive calling. Intuition has something to do with, well, it doesn't have anything to do with conditioning or training or culture or education. It's a knowing without all those things, without benefit of those things, like the canary and like the tiger and like the tortoise.
Well,
He's a little bit slow, but he still knows how to be a tortoise, right? Right?
yeah, I guess he can only move with...
But he knows how to be a tortoise. We don't know how to be human beings. We have to be taught everything.
Yeah, now that's what I mean. Okay, you say, okay, we have all this negative around us, and that the school, the different social programs, and all these organizations are not able to show us the right way.
They're not only that, they don't want to show it. They want to show us the wrong way, because the whole purpose is to dehumanize us and make us into animals dependent on them. See, in other words, war. You have to understand, young man, there's a war between good and evil going on. There's a war between good forces and evil forces going on, and man is in the middle of that.
And we're just receptive to whatever goes, to whatever influences we...
Right.
Right?
Yes, we're receptive, depending on the inclination of our soul, of course. The inclination, what do we want? Do we love God, or do we want to be God? Do we want to be something other than what God made us? If we're not satisfied with what we are, if you're not satisfied with being a woman, If you're not satisfied with being an ordinary person and you want to be a king. See what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
You want to make a lot of money and be a great this and a great that. There's ego involved. Wherever there's ego involved, and if ego is not involved, I assure you the snake will come along and try to make you egotistical, to take you away from, snatch you away from the commands of God. And that's what's happened. That's what's happening in the school system. They push education. They push ambition. They push pride and egotism. And they are dehumanizing our children. Not there's anything wrong with education if it's with love, and you let children unfold like a flower. See, you lead them to the way, to their inner education, to the inner truth. Like I did with my son, see? I didn't do it with all of them yet, because I didn't know that much when they were born. I did that one with Mark because he was the youngest and I knew the most. So he had the best, he had the benefit of my understanding later in life. But it doesn't mean to say that we're all finished as a result of because our parents didn't understand this. But I say that all of the problems that people have, Jess, come from one thing, and that is not, they're too caught up in their minds. They're too emotional. And when you're emotional, you're traumatized. And the trauma excites the mind, and it gets lost in itself. And then you cannot see clearly. See? And then you make a mistake, and you get influenced. Your mind becomes influenced when you're upset or resentful or angry. And there are people who know how to make you angry to get their way. They have their way through you. And that even makes you more angry to realize that this has happened. One of the principles of brainwashing is, if you keep asserting a contradictory statement over and over again, and you don't know how to deal with it, especially since you're youth, after a while, you'll doubt what you know is right, and you'll accept the contradictory statement as the truth. And then if anybody tries to show you that you're contradicting yourself, you're going to drive them nuts too, like you were driven nuts. And you have the power to do it. And with words. There's a certain power that comes from, well, there's a certain power that some of us who rise above helplessness that words have introduced us to. You see how I said that? Words take us from the wordless way of seeing things, the wordless way of knowing and doing things, and the power that's there. And it introduces us to another power. Because people are, in their souls, before the time of enlightenment, in their formative years, very tender. They need much guidance. They need much love. They need lots of patience. And, you know, you just have to wait and you have to suffer along with them. And your own soul becomes perfected thereby. But, you know, you have to wait for them to grasp hold of their own intuitive powers. But so it's so easy. Of course, what we are seeing is one-upsmanship, because the world, as you see, is not full of patient, forgiving, long-suffering, non-angry people. It's full of people with the power of impatience to make you function and grow and before your time of understanding. And so to upset you and confuse you and make you doubt. Your parent did it to you, you do it to your own children. So it's almost like we haven't got a chance when we come into the world. We're sort of like, we come into a sick environment, and it possesses us, and it violates us, and pretty soon we're lost. And then the very best we can do is grasp for words, and then they come up with those words. And then the more words you swallow, The more problems you have, the more knowledge you seek to solve the problems, and then you fall into that knowledge trap.
We have all been hypnotized by society.
Well, life itself is a hypnosis. When I was young, I discovered that I couldn't control my thoughts and my feelings, and when I was upset, thoughts lingered and I couldn't get rid of them, and I thought to myself, well, that's funny, why can people make an impression on me and I can't erase that impression? What mysterious power do they have? What will happen to me if I can't control myself and erase those thoughts? So I set out seeking the answers, and I became interested in hypnotism, to cut a long story short. And I discovered in the course of practicing hypnotism and understanding the secrets of the mind that the reason why everybody had problems is because they're all, in a sense, hypnotized by pressures of society.
So you, in effect, you dehypnotize.
Well, yes, meditation.
Or you apply your hypnosis to counter previous hypnosis.
No, you can't.
No?
You can't counter hypnosis with another hypnosis without making them your victim. See, you're reprogramming when you're deprogramming.
Well, let me ask.
Well, what you really must do, you must bring the person to his own inner understanding of life, so that his own understanding, as he discovers it, as he sees it for himself, without the impress of culture, you see, and training and background and conditioning, as he sees it for himself clearly, not involved with thought or feeling or culture, you must give him back to this clear way of seeing things, so that the knowledge which is present in one's own center, not caught up in thought or feeling, comes to bear on his own brain, on his own mind.
So you're erasing the blackboard of the mind and allowing only those basic truths which are already there to
Yes,
to register?
Well, that's the reason. The truths which are already there is called the conscience. And when we react like animals to pressure, and there are plenty of pressures in the world, plenty of manipulators, mind manipulators in religion and in education, who like power and like taking us away from our center and educating us and making us little robots and answering to them and them healing us and looking to them for answers and creating bigger problems for us to look to them. You see, they like that. And we are victim of this. And the conflict comes between man's two conditions. There are two ways a human being can live. He can live conditioned by pressures like an animal, but then he becomes an animal and he has conflict in himself for being one, because he isn't human. And this is the reason why we have rebellion, why we have crime, why we have alcoholism and drug addiction, because people don't know how to face pressure without becoming the extension of those pressures. The hideousness behind those pressures get inside us, and they mold the man. And there are people who prey on the dying and lead. There's a parasitical type of human being who, sociopathic, psychopathic kind of people, and they usually emerge as leaders. Look at the world. The whole human race has a history of enslavement. But if you look at your own life, this society is descending into slavery. Each one of us are addicted to something. But it helps to comfort us and justify, well, this is the way I am. I smoke because I choose to. Now, what this person is really saying is, I'm not really free. I'm a slave of my cigarette, my drug, whatever it is, but it's something I choose to do. It's me. What he's doing is making a compulsion look like a free will choice. Therefore, he doesn't have to see he's a slave. So all of us who are slaves and living up in our pleasure, where our pleasures are serving us, are really enslaving us, but we don't see that. We don't want to see this enslavement part. We don't want to see that this life that we're living is only an ego life, and an ego life leads to death, and to all kinds of diseases and complications, a nightmarish existence. And you see, if you look at society, you see different various stages of that. The horrible things that people do to each other, the horrible things that people do to each other themselves. And as they get towards the end of this life that leads to death, and there's no more, they can't deal with their conscience anymore, and the pain is so severe, then you've got Dr. Kevorkian to help you, the angel of death, to help you die with dignity. You see? And what kind of dignity is that? We're calling this miserable death a person who can't stand his living any longer, who's fed up with life, who thinks life is a punishment. He thinks that death is a safe relief, and it isn't. Because there may be something on the other side. And everyone who has suicidal thoughts has a voice telling them, you know, you deserve better than that. You really don't. But see, why don't you kill yourself and get it over with? That's the voice that talks to us as you descend into the depths. You keep denying and denying and denying, and you go deeper and deeper into your flesh, and you almost can hear the other side talking to you. It becomes your voice of conscience, but always leading you to the other side. We're going to go to Kay in California. Hello, Kay.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing better, thank you.
Good. I wanted to talk to you about a little problem that I had since my childhood. I have spiraled out of control. I have hurt those I love and those who love me, my friends, my family, my boyfriend, and I don't know how to stop the pain. I don't know how to stop the hurting. I want to heal. I want to forgive. And I want to move forward. But it's almost impossible to move forward because I don't know how to forgive. I wanted forgiveness from my father before he died. I wanted him to say, I'm sorry, I wanted to forgive, but I never heard him say, I'm sorry for what I did. And after his death, things changed for me. I started hurting those that I love before they hurt me.
I understand.
I left my life in my father's hands, but instead of caring for me and loving me and nurturing me, he hurt me. And I really don't know how to heal.
I can help you. You want help now?
Yes, I do.
You've heard me before?
Yes, I have.
Do you have this? Do you have Be Still and Know?
I'm sorry?
Do you have the Be Still and Know meditation where the one
No, I do not have it. But
how long you been listening?
Well, someone dear to me introduced me to you, and I've only been listening every once in a while for a few months.
Yes.
So not enough to learn your meditation or to purchase it or
fair enough.
to really actually grasp your message.
There's no need. There's no
learn
need.
From it, but
No. Let me see if I can do a little experiment with you. Would you like to go through a little experiment? Because it's really, the whole thing is really quite simple, and I feel like you're hungry, yearning for the truth that will set you free, and the truth is very close to you, and the truth lies in your conflict, and how you deal with your conflict. The truth lies in the form or function of what we call conscience, and conscience feels like the enemy. That's what it feels like. So it's ever present, and you are infected with an identity, an entity that makes you think that the conscience is your enemy. See, and so therefore you struggle with it. You tend to doubt. You doubt yourself all the time. You want to be better. You want to believe, but there's always that side of you that approaches you and makes you doubt and puts strange thoughts in your mind.
Yes.
See.
Yes.
So now, if you close your eyes for a minute, would you?
Yes.
Are you sitting down?
Yes.
Okay. Would you put the phone in your left ear?
Yes.
And Are you sitting on a chair or a sofa or bed?
On my bed.
Okay. And are you comfortable that way?
Yes, I am.
Good. Now, put your right arm hanging by your side.
Okay.
Okay? And if you want to sit in a straight back chair, it would be better, but this will do. Okay? Now, all I want you to do is follow a simple instruction without effort. Fair enough?
Yes.
Okay. Close your eyes and be aware of your eyelids. Very simple. Just notice that your eyelids are there. Can you do that?
Yes.
In other words, that you're looking at your eye, but something is looking at those eyelids, and you're in this moment, right in this moment, you have no thought in your head. What you're looking at is a display of light, little pixels of light, like a TV that's on, but there's no picture, and you have that white noise, and it's pixelated, little pixels moving across the screen of your mind. Is that correct?
Yes.
Good. Now, there is no thoughts there. Now, how do we get there to look at your mind and see no thought? You know what's happening? You're in a meditative state. You're in a meditative state by just doing that. In a meditative state, and you're not in your thoughts anymore. You're outside your brain. You're outside your fantasy, your intellect, your imagination, your dream state. You're outside it. Now, here, listen carefully for the next phase. Be aware of your right arm hanging by your side. And now, if you be aware of your right forefinger, the awareness that you have in your mind, in your forehead, becomes a tingling in your first finger, just by being aware that you include the finger in the looking at your eyelids. You can do that. You can almost see your hand with your mind's eye, and you can see your finger. You can almost you don't have to look at it or imagine it. I don't want you to imagine it. I want you to notice the finger only. Can you do that, please?
Yes.
Now, does it tingle just a little bit? Wait for a moment. Tell me when it tingles.
Yes.
Okay. Like blood is going into it, but it's energy. Now, transfer the awareness to the second finger, and let me know when it tingles.
It's tingling.
Good. Now, the third finger. And it's easy.
It's tingling.
And now the little finger. Yeah, see. Now the thumb. Now, you keep doing that while I'm talking to you.
Okay.
Would you do that?
Yes.
Now, listen carefully. I'm going to explain something, although I don't need to explain it, but you'll delight in the explanation. What is happening here is you are close to God. And you don't know it yet. You don't know it. You only have my word for that, but it's true. And so you don't have to believe me or disbelieve me, just listen. That's all I ask you. And so the reason what now, as you're looking at your forehead, you're looking at the surface of your brain. And that's where, and that play of light is on your brain, and that's becoming a programming from within. God's programming. See, this will wash out all your anger and hostilities and becomes what you call forgiveness, because in this state you are being forgiven. You were forgiven before you were born, and what you've experienced with your parents is a variation of what everybody experiences from original sin. You see, so you weren't born innocent. You were born, and when you came into the world, you came into the world, and the world grasped you and multiplied your suffering. And you multiplied your own by struggling to save yourself as if you could. But the salvation waiting was always there. You are being saved. Your salvation is being saved from original sin. See, all have fallen and been short of the glory of God, the good book says. You know, you're a Christian lady, I imagine. And so you understand that we're all sinners, so that, but you didn't desire to sin. You didn't want this kind of life. You are a spiritual person, and you understand what I'm saying when I say you're being saved from sin. Your choice is rather a longing to be saved from this condition. Can't save yourself. Nobody can save you.
The salvation is prepared. You are forgiven, therefore you play it forward. And playing it forward means that you can see that what was in your father is now in you, or what was in your mother that did it to your father, that turned him into this. And if he was really a man, he couldn't be turned into it, but never mind. Mother played a role too. So I want you to understand that's all you need to hear, and want you to play it forward. You will play it forward effortlessly. You now have the ability to deal perfectly with the next imperfect moment, imperfect people, because you know full well that what they do to you, they cannot help. Now that you've experienced yourself, you find yourself doing unto others before they do it to you, or doing unto others what was done unto you, and you cannot stop it, even if you try, because sin has that hold. And that's why God knew this. Through one man, sin, and death through sin comes spread through the human race. But through one man, it goes out. And you know who I speak of, whoever I speak. Now, I want you to open your eyes now and look around the room and tell me if you see brightness, if everything is brighter.
I do.
Do you feel relieved of, I know you do. You feel lifted.
I do.
See, the problem's gone. Where is the problem?
Is it gone forever? Will it return?
Well, yeah, it's up to you. It's up to you now. If you will do this little exercise, I will send you a CD. No charge. Don't want any money for it. But I will send you, and I'll make sure that you get your address before you leave the program, the telephone. But I want you to now to be grateful for this, that you have a gift. Something's happening to you, and you will notice it tomorrow. And if you practice this little exercise without muttering anything, without expecting anything, so that you become programmed, because, you see, you only have two choices. You're programmed by God, or in default, as you came into the world, you got programmed, demoralized, degraded by the forces that degraded your mother and father. When they came into the world, they had it done to them. That's why your father was that way. He couldn't help himself. He couldn't help but do it to you. He couldn't stop himself. Do you see that? As you couldn't stop yourself, nobody can help it. That's why Jesus cried out, "Forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do," even when they were killing him. See that? That's the magic. Now, you don't have to go through that kind of thing he did, but from now onwards, deal with people perfectly, and you have this grace in you. You always had it. All you need is to know that you were redeemed and to believe it. Trust that. And that something inside you will come back, and it sits on your doorstep, and it will come back to tempt you. This is what I want you to do, or not to do. Don't argue with it. Don't argue with your thoughts. Don't agree with what it wants you to believe, or disagree. Just be a watcher. And being a watcher means you don't get tempted to struggle with yourself. Just watch it. It doesn't like to be watched. And when you watch it, the light is coming through. It's not you that deals with this mess of thought if it reappears, and it may. It is the light within you that's dealing with it. So therefore, don't be tempted to struggle, because that's what pulls you in deeper and makes you give your life to it. It tricks you. Do you understand that?
Yes, I do.
So you'll be fine.
Now find a straight back chair, put both feet flat on the floor, close your eyes, and put your right hand by your side. Bring your attention to your right hand hanging by your side. Simply notice it. Be aware of it. And feel the blood flowing down into it, and it will tingle. Now just do that.
Just be aware of your hand hanging by your side. There is no need for any effort. Again, simply notice your hand hanging by your side until you find yourself not noticing it through being caught up in a daydream of thought. And when that happens, simply bring your attention back to your hand again and again. If you do this, you will begin to feel the blood flowing down into your fingertips. You are now learning how to concentrate on your hand gently. Be very, very consciously aware of your hand. Mentally shift your attention from one finger to another. Bring your attention to your first finger. Notice it tingle a little bit. Now the second finger. Now shift your attention to the third and fourth, coming back to the first again. Just be very, very aware of each finger in turn until it feels as though the blood were flowing into it. Tingle just a little bit. Now, while you are being very, very aware of your hand, shifting your attention from one finger to another, you find you can do it. Become also aware of the middle of your forehead. Now, as though you were looking through the middle of your forehead, funnel your attention also down your right arm into your hand and bring your attention to each finger in turn while you're doing that. As though you were looking through the middle of your forehead, you can also see your right hand hanging by your side, and you can almost see an outline of your hand in your mind's eye. And looking through the middle of your forehead, you'll see thoughts. And if thoughts pull you in, just stand back from those thoughts. Just stand back from the thought. Don't fight it. Just look through the middle of your forehead as if the thoughts were clouds, and funnel your attention down your right arm. Concentrate on each little finger in turn, shifting your attention from the first finger to the second finger to the third finger, and keep on looking through the middle of your forehead with your mind's eye. Stand back and see your thoughts as a television set with no picture on it, just white noise, maybe color, little colored flashes of light. As though you're looking through the middle of your forehead, funnel your attention down your right arm and be aware of the first finger and the second finger and the third finger. And if a thought pulls you in, pull back. Pull back from the thought. Now, it may happen for a few moments that you're caught up in a daydream. Just observe the thought. Just notice that you're pulled into thought. Stand back and don't get frustrated, and funnel the energy down your arm and focus on each finger in turn gently. You find you can do it. It will happen many times that your thought will pull your consciousness into it. But never mind, as many times as it happens, as many times pull back, watch the thought as if you were looking at a cave, the wall of a cave. That's all. And the thoughts will disappear, dissolve, as you look down your arm and feel the blood flowing into each finger in turn, your first finger, your second finger, and so on and so forth. Keep doing this. Don't stop. Be very aware of this hand. Be very conscious of it. Feel the presence of it. Feel the blood flowing into it. Then out of this mild, warm, tingling feeling, let that hand become a vague outline in your mind's eye, the way I described it before. It is as though you can almost see or sense where your hand is without imagery. If your thoughts pull your awareness away from the present moment, bring your attention back to your hand and feel it again. Feel the awareness of it. Feel the presence of it. And then see the back of your hand drawing up towards the middle of your forehead. Now you can imagine the back of your hand coming up the middle of your forehead. And just feel as though the hand is coming up. Just imagine it coming up now, just as an exercise of control over your own mind and feelings and body. And just imagine it coming up to the middle of your forehead. Draw the hand towards the middle of your forehead. As you look at it with your mind's eye, you can see your hand out of the corner of your mind's eye coming up, as if it was being lifted up by a warm cushion of air. Be very conscious of your own mind, as though you were sitting in a cave, looking at the wall of that cave, and then seeing that hand coming up towards the middle of your forehead. See the image of it now, and feel the awareness of it, and see it coming up towards the middle of your forehead. See the outline of your hand moving towards your head, and your head falling towards your hand. This is to help you relax. It is not that important if your concentration does not make your hand feel light. I only want to help you to keep your mind in the now present, to keep it from wandering into thought and dream stuff. If your thoughts pull your awareness away from the tingling of your hand in this present moment, simply feel the awareness of your hand again, and then see your hand drawing upward toward your head, and your head getting a little heavy towards your hand. Now keep doing it and don't stop. That's all I want you to do. Again, so as to help keep your awareness in the moment. Judge the distance between your hand and your forehead. See if you can estimate the distance your hand has to travel to touch your forehead. Don't hurry. Be patient. You have plenty of time. Just be conscious of the tingling of the hand. Feel the awareness of it. See the outline of it through your mind's eye, coming towards you, as though you were looking through the middle of your forehead, drawing closer and closer. Keep doing it. You are not meant to look up and strain your eyes, just as though you were looking through the middle of your forehead and seeing your hand coming up in your mind's eye. If your thoughts wander off, don't worry. Bring your mind back to the process, the awareness of now, the awareness of your hand rising to the middle of your forehead. Feel the warmth, the blood flowing down into it. Feel the presence of it, and then see the outline of your hand drawing toward the middle of your forehead. Again, as though you're looking out into space and you can see it coming towards you. Don't look upwards or strain your eyes. Simply have the awareness of the middle of your forehead in your mind's eye. Just observe as though you were looking to the middle of your forehead, the place where thoughts rise. Then see if you can locate where your hand is rising, up toward the middle of your forehead, energizing your arm through being very aware of it. It will become lighter and lighter and lighter. Don't hurry. It is really not important if your hand does not rise. The object of the exercise is to create a response to your inner self, to remain in the present, in the presence. If your arm becomes light and buoyant, let your hand go up by itself and travel towards your forehead. If your mind wanders off, bring your attention back to your hand. Feel the awareness of it again. Feel the tingling sensation, as though the blood were flowing down into your fingers. But there's something more than that happening. See the outline of your hand coming up towards the middle of your forehead, as though you were looking through your mind's eye. Remember, don't strain your eyes. Just be very, very aware of your hand, as though you could see it through the awareness of the middle of your forehead, so your hand and head will eventually feel as one. You find now you can dissolve unnecessary thoughts simply by becoming aware of the present moment. Be aware of your hand. Feel it coming up towards, so the back of your hand touches the forehead. Judge the distance. In your estimation, see if you can judge the distance between the back of your hand and the middle of your forehead. Draw the hand closer and closer to the head. Soon, you will feel that the back of your hand is closer to your forehead than it really is. It may feel as though your hand is passing through your head at times, rather than to your head. But when it does move a little closer, it doesn't seem to get there, to touch your forehead. It seems as though your hand is closer than it really is. This is just an effect created by the way you're concentrating. But don't worry. Now still keep being aware of your hand. Be very, very conscious of it. Feel as though the blood were flowing into it. It will tingle. It may feel very warm or detached, but just keep being aware of your hand and remain aware of it through the middle of your forehead. When the back of your hand touches the middle of your forehead, you may drop your hand to your lap.
And the Lord's Prayer says like this: Our Father, or my Father, who art within me. Where is heaven? It's not in the sky. There is a kind of heaven in the sky, but that's another story. It's not the heaven we understand. You don't want to be out there when you die, floating around there. So, my Father who art within me, blessed, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come. Thy will be done. Whoa! Because most of you are not under that. You're under the other spell. You're under the other influence, and it will keep you from. The spirit of other people will keep you from coming to that light, because it means they lose the control they had. Even the sense of worth you give them, which you don't even know you're giving them by liking them. I don't like you or dislike you. I mean, I see you're a nice person, and I take you at your word until I see you're not a nice person, but that doesn't bother me either. And if you're not a nice person, I might tell you. I said, how can you be both people? I had to go to see the other side first. Say, how can you be, which one are you? I can talk to you that way. So let me finish the Lord's Prayer and answer your question. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done. Not anybody else's will, because you see, we're caught up in a trap of thinking that the will that's in us, that we're born into, that it gets into us as we come into the world, is our will. At what it wants, we want. And what it thinks, we think it's our thought. Even the excuse is not our thought. It is given to you to defend the enemy within you, and the enemy of the world that looks like your friends. See that? And so, well, the light is always there, but it's bothering, because you're made up of that. Your psyche, you're built layers by layers by layers by conditioning, because it's hard to wake up a cannibal for being a cannibal. It would be, he hasn't got enough life left where you could change him. It's too much a cannibal. There's a point of no return where a person is what he is, and that's, yeah. And so people can change in their look and their appearance and their health and everything from just one thing. A change of ownership, a change of allegiance. And all of a sudden, the flow comes differently, and flow washes out all your judgments. If you have a drug, then you've made the giver of that drug, or the spirit behind it, a god. And therefore, you will never recover. Ever. Forgiveness cannot be obtained by a pill.
Right. So don't take it.
But I didn't say you shouldn't take it. That's why I'm not saying that, because I don't want it to be my will, or even God's will, as an instruction. You have to see that for yourself. Is it true that forgiveness of your sins cannot come from a pill?
Well, I think.
Is it like?
Mm-hmm. I think what I'm going to try to do is not take it and just
suffer.
If I lie down on the floor with my feet up and rest, my hands up and just rest for about 10 or 15 minutes, I feel very different afterwards.
If that works, if that is the rituals are commitments. They transitory. They transition you from one place to another. For instance, the ritual of marriage.
Well, it's just complete relaxation. It's complete relaxation and meditation, because I'm also meditating at the same time.
But I limit the rituals to as little as possible. I don't even go as far as baptism, because Jesus says, John says, I baptize you with water, but the one who comes after me will baptize you with the Holy Spirit. So what am I doing with water? It's symbolic, but it is a ritual of conversion. I mean, it takes you a part of the way. See, it's neat. But the point is, I can take you the whole way now, just by showing you how simple everything is. There's nothing for you to do. In other words, it's only allowing the light to come in to look at your foibles and weakness, and you're looking at unforgiveness. And if you take a pill, then your belief is wrongly directed.
And that is what's wrong with everybody in the world, where their belief is wrongly directed.